well, and I began to talk with Ernie Howes and Angus McQueen. Well, what if I put my name forward for ordination? Like, what do you think? What would happen? And so with support, I put my name forward. And after that, then just all hell broke loose, because the church was not about to ordain me. That's absolutely for sure. And they called me, I mean, the paper articles before, they called me names like frustrated woman. Oh, I don't know what they called me. It was kind of awful stuff.
And you were trying to be ordained into the United Church?
Yeah, United Church of Canada, right. That's later, but because they kept following me up, right, over the years. Attractive young Toronto mother seeks ordination as United Church minister, heard herself described by the church conference yesterday as a frustrated housewife who might flunk the job. And they said many, many nasty things. And Gordon Sinclair, who was a total secular person, who had a big radio show across Canada, picked up on this. He thought it was like, because when I had gone to university to study theology in my first year, I had lived right across the street from him. Oh. So he had met me, and so he kind of knew my story. So he picked it up, and he really was, like he was mounting condemnation of the United Church for this action on my behalf, is what you might say he was doing. Yeah. And because they were saying, well, we can't have somebody in the pulpit who could be having sex, and we can't have some. And then this was Trudeau, the whole sex in your bedroom kind of thing. And so then people were standing up on the floor of conference arguing, like, no, we can't. And then there was a secret underground group that got together that figured out that they could block this, that my grades weren't good enough, and I hadn't been a good enough student. Well, I had been an exceptional student, so they pulled all that out, and so that all had to be. It was a nightmare, and I felt that week when all this was happening and it was breaking in the news and so on, and I sort of thought, well, I'll quit. Yeah. And so they do quote me as saying, I say things like, "Get the hell out of here." I don't know. I must have said to somebody, "I got to get the hell out of here," and so they that's what appeared, So then that was used to. I mean, look at, she said, she's going to get the hell out. I don't know. Went on like this, but Ernie Howes and Angus McQueen, who were both deeply respected former moderators of the church, got together. The two of them, who they're not the best of friends, and they got together and they said, listen, there must be a way to do this, to get this through, because there's nothing wrong with this woman. We know her, and she's young, yes, but so are some of the guys. I mean, this is not okay. We should be able to change this around. And there were just these, and so then they decided, at one point they had to have a secret ballot. And for a day and a half, they argued about whether or not they could decide to ordain me or not by secret ballot. That was a big deal, because of course those who wanted to vote against me didn't want anyone else to know, so they wanted it to be a secret ballot, and the others, blah. And people took sides, and then it became very political. And really, I sat down with those two guys, and they said, okay, we have to have a map here. You got to shut up your supporters, because they're not doing you any good. Because some of the people that were supporting were the ones, these very edgy characters from Emmanuel College, who indeed had got ordained, but were really edgy, like my doctor friend, who was against baptism, and was in a charge in Northern Ontario, and there was no medical people there, and he was a doctor. And so the people were far more excited about having a doctor than a minister. A doctor than a minister. And so he started, in addition to being the minister, he started practicing some medicine in that town. Right. And so then that was going to cause to withdraw his ordination. And he was one of the people supporting me, so you got to shut up these characters. So they laid all this strategy down, and it was all down to where people stood on the floor of conference. And so Angus was over here, and we had different groups in different places around the floor with different questions, and everybody had their timing, and it was all very political. in
Right.
terms of how they got me ordained. And when it got right down to that, they had accepted my ordination, and the ordination was, this was at about 4 in the afternoon, and I think the ordination was at 7. Like, it was that down to the line that I had no idea whether it was going to happen or not. And of course, there was no opportunity for my parents or anybody to get to this, but as well, because it was going straight ahead if it was going. But one of the things that happened is that the clerk of the conference got up at the very last minute and went to the microphone very officiously and said, we cannot possibly ordain Anne Bartram. My name was Bartram. Cannot ordain Anne Bartram. And it's not possible. Her name is not on the program. And we can't have no record of her ordination because her name isn't printed on the program. At which point, my planted people around went, question, like, in other words, like, take the vote right now because this is so absurd. And they took the vote, and I was ordained.
Wow. And during those 3 hours, were you thinking, like, still thinking, I got to get the hell out, or were you sure that this is what?
No, we had a say in the paper, and I see that must be true because I say it in the newspaper, because the Globe and Mail, like the pictures in the Globe and Mail, I can't find them. They were quite good, but anyways, I can't find them. It says that my husband and I had a really serious talk, like, I don't know, Monday or Tuesday of the week of conference, and we decided that as difficult as this was going to be, we were going to go for it.
Okay, so you were sure.
I was sure that I was going for it, but I wasn't at all sure whether I'd be ordained.
Right.
Like, it was a who knew how this would play out.
It must have taken incredible courage to have your future determined by a bunch of men who didn't want a woman in the room with them. Who
clearly did not. Now, why that's in me to do, I don't know. But anyways, it felt important to me. I had known a lot of women in my grandmother was a suffragette. That may be the whole story, right there.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sure. Like, that's probably it.
Yeah.
And my own mother was very, very physically challenged. She was deaf and mostly blind, and so, you know, it's a lot to live up to, having a grandmother as a suffragette.
Yeah. Well, we've definitely lived up to it.
Yeah, but you know, I think maybe that's because there were lots of reasons to quit, lots and lots of reasons to quit,